Coming up at 4:30, it's a widespread issue in Kentucky schools. Kids vaping, doing drugs or other illegal substances. The bigger issue that could be behind this dangerous trend. Plus, inflation is sticking around, kind of like an unwanted house guest. We'll share the numbers from a key inflation gauge and when consumers could possibly see relief.
Plus, we are warm for the last weekend of April. Your forecast coming up as Mountain News First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
The 36th Annual East Kentucky Leadership Conference wrapped up today in Corbin. WYMT's RJ Johnson has more on some of the topics discussed.
Wrapping up the East Kentucky Leadership Conference, folks gathered in downtown Corbin to discuss ways they can make change in their own communities. With sessions on issues such as homelessness and what roles elected officials play, folks collaborated to find ways to better serve the region. Panelists in one session discussed the key elements needed for success in comeback communities. Terry Gray with One Clay County says conversations such as these are needed.
Talking about some of the initiatives that we have going on now, in the future, and kind of brainstorming with some of our other community partners about how we can kind of make a change and make a difference in our communities, start bringing people back to our hometowns instead of people leaving our hometowns.
Gray says he thinks the conference was successful. However, the work to implement needed changes starts now. In Corbin, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
The conference ended with a luncheon discussing the Eastern Kentucky Rapid Response Team. We'll have more on the conference and our final Leadership Award winner profile tonight at 6. Some new studies in Kentucky show a big problem with school-age kids vaping and using illegal substances. The State Department of Education Student Advisory Council recently discussed this. WYMT's Phil Pendleton spoke to police and a child psychologist about what's behind the issues.
Police here in London say this has been an issue that they have dealt with on a first-hand level. In fact, the local police department goes around and speaks to children about this issue, and they say that they need to take this very, very seriously. They say that vaping is an issue, unfortunately, within schools, and what's even more troubling is the other substances that are being found within these vapes. London police say they have taken several kids into custody because of either vaping, drugs, or other illegal substances.
Some of those are just normal vaping devices that have nicotine in them, and some of those are actually have THC in them.
The Student Advisory Council, through the Kentucky Department of Education, recently held a 3-hour roundtable discussion on a variety of issues, including vaping and drug and alcohol use. And they say there is a direct correlation between those substances and mental illness. Dr. Dan Floral is a clinical psychologist who says kids are hurting and are looking for ways to relieve that pain.
And then the individuals who are suffering from anxiety, depression, they find that, oh, this makes me feel better, so I want to do more of that. And if you don't have a supportive environment around you, supportive parents or school system or things like that, then this becomes a default.
According to the Kentucky Incentives for Prevention survey, kids are more than 2 times more likely to have serious psychological distress and other issues if they are vaping, if they are using marijuana, if they are taking other illegal substances. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Police say in most cases, kids caught vaping or using THC-induced vapes could run the risk of facing charges or even being jailed in a juvenile facility based on the seriousness of the offense.
We are tracking some wet weather on this Friday. Some good news, no severe storms, also no constant rain, but the umbrella may be your friend if you have those plans on this Friday evening. Let's go to First Alert Pinpoint Doppler, and we are tracking some hit or miss rain showers, mainly along and south of the Mountain Parkway. Let's zoom into far southeast Kentucky, also southwest Virginia, from Harlan County pushing into Letcher County. Also a first alert for Wise and Lee counties in southwest Virginia. Some light to moderate showers here. If you're on I-70 75 this afternoon in Whitley County, also pushing into parts of Laurel County. A few light showers and some more light showers for Knox into Bell counties at this hour. A live look from Perry County from Buffalo Mountain. Some more overcast conditions on this Friday, and you can tell where the rain has fallen, down to 59 for Somerset, but up to 73 for Moorhead. But all of us see 50s and 60s as we go into this evening. A few more spotty showers this evening. We are trending drier though for late Friday, and lows are back in the upper 50s to lower 60s to wake up in the morning. The big story this weekend, a pool-like weekend on the way. We see highs in the middle to lower 80s. More details on that weekend forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thanks. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken just wrapped up a contentious trip to China. Blinken said the U.S. has seen evidence that China is attempting to influence and arguably interfere with upcoming elections. That's despite President Xi Jinping pledging not to do so. Blinken reiterated President Biden's message for Beijing to stay out of American elections. He and Xi Jinping also plan the first talks about artificial intelligence between the two superpowers. Those should take place during the coming weeks. TikTok's parent company in China says it will not sell the social media platform as a United States ban looms. ByteDance denied plans to sell yesterday. It's the first official response from the Beijing-based company on the issue since President Biden signed a bill that could lead to a nationwide ban. Under the current U.S. law, TikTok is now forced to find a new owner within months or be banned from the United States entirely. TikTok CEO said the company would fight in the courts to stay online in the U.S. No notable relief in prices for consumers heading into the graduation and early summer travel season. A key inflation gauge shows it remains stubbornly high, with prices hitting a plateau. Laura Aguirre has more on the latest numbers the Federal Reserve is tracking.
The latest key inflation gauge, watched closely by the Fed, is out. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, which measures the prices we all pay for goods and services, ticked up to 2.7% in March, edging past February's rate and higher than many economists predicted.
High prices are to some degree reflecting the strong demand for all kinds of things that is consistent with a robust economy.
On a monthly basis, prices were up slightly, 0.03%. Unchanged from February's pace, still not the step down many people were hoping to see.
We are fully committed to returning inflation to our 2% goal.
That was Fed Chair Jerome Powell last month, affirming where inflation needs to land before the central bank can offer buyers more relief.
And as we look at the Federal Reserve's own preferred gauge of inflation, that is not expected to give us an all clear for interest rate cuts anytime soon.
Back to that robust economy. Consumer spending remained strong last month, rising 0.8%, better than the half point many analysts expected. Forward progress on inflation has slowed since last year, mostly due to elevated housing and services costs, which experts often call more sticky and slower to ease. The Fed meets again next week, but what's the bottom line for consumers?
Inflation is sticking around longer, a little like an unwanted guest, and we may have to sort of remain patient for some time to come.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Alphabet and Microsoft are providing a silver lining amid stormy news for the U.S. economy. Google's parent company is set to pay its first ever quarterly cash dividend. Investors will get 20 cents a share in June, plus a boost from stock buybacks. The company says last quarter's revenue was 15% higher than a year earlier. One reason is AI, which helped Microsoft with a 17% revenue increase for the same period. King Charles is returning to public duties 2 months after he announced he was receiving treatment for cancer. According to Buckingham Palace, the King and Queen Camilla will visit a cancer treatment center on Tuesday. Officials say they will meet with patients and medical specialists at the facility. The 75-year-old English monarch will also host Japanese Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako next month. Coming up on First at 4, putting the fun in functional beverages. How drink companies are looking to do more than quench your thirst.
Plus, we are dodging a few showers today, but some drier and warmer weather is on the way for the weekend. Those details after this break.